Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? Hi, Sunanda. Hi, Sarah. Lito. Everybody doing okay? I can't.
Yes, how's everybody there?
Good. It's very warm. We had a really unbelievable wind last night and this morning. Hope it doesn't reach you down in Irvine. And
This,
did you get it?
I don't think so.
Good. Lito, everything going okay? Thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, so we are Saturday, June 13th, 1885, on page 781. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna was resting in his room after the midday meal. A pundit was sitting on the mat on the floor. Near the north door of the room stood a Brahmin woman who had recently lost her only daughter and was stricken with grief. Kishori, too, was in the room. M arrived and saluted the master. He was accompanied by Dvija and a few other devotees. Sri Ramakrishna was not well. He'd been suffering from an inflamed throat. These were the hot days of summer. M was not keeping well either, and of late he had not been able to visit Sri Ramakrishna frequently. Master to M, how are you? It's nice to see you. The bell fruit you sent me was very good. M, I'm slightly better now, sir. Master, it's very hot. Take a little ice now and then. I have been feeling the heat very much myself, so I ate a great deal of ice cream. That's why I have this sore throat. Yeah. The saliva smells very bad. I've said to the Divine Mother, Mother, make me well. I shall not eat ice cream anymore. Next, I said to her that I wouldn't eat ice either. Since I've given my word to the Mother, I shall certainly not eat these things. But sometimes I become forgetful. Once I said that I wouldn't eat fish on Sundays, but one Sunday I forgot and ate fish. But I cannot consciously go back on my word. The other day, I asked a devotee to bring my water jug to the pine grove. As he had to go elsewhere, another man brought the jug. But I couldn't use that water. I was helpless. I waited there until the first man brought water for me. When I renounced everything with an offering of flowers at the lotus feet of Mother, I said, Here, Mother, take thy holiness, take thy unholiness. Here, Mother, take thy dharma, take thy adharma. Here, Mother, take thy sin, take thy virtue. Here, Mother, take thy good, take thy evil, and give me only pure bhakti. But I could not say, Here, Mother, take thy truth, take thy falsehood. A devotee had brought some ice. Again and again the master asked M, Shall I eat it? M said humbly, Please don't eat it without consulting the Mother. Sri Ramakrishna could not take the ice. Master, it is the bhakta, not the jnani, who discriminates between holiness and unholiness. Vijay's mother-in-law said to me, How little I have achieved of my spiritual ideal. I cannot take food from everybody. I said to her, Is eating everybody's food a sign of jnana? A dog eats anything and everything. Does it make it a jnani? To M, Why should I eat a variety of dishes? In order not to become monotonous. Otherwise, I should have to renounce the devotees. I said to Keshav, If I instruct you from a still higher standpoint, then you won't be able to preserve your organization. In the state of jnana, organizations and things like that become unreal, like a dream. One time I gave up fish. At first I suffered from it. Afterwards it didn't bother me much. If someone burns up a bird's nest, the bird flies about. It takes shelter in the sky. If a man truly realizes that the body and the world are unreal, then his soul attains samadhi. Formerly, I had the state of mind of a jnani. I couldn't enjoy the company of men. I would hear that a jnani or a bhakta lived in a certain place. Then, a few days later, I would hear that he was dead. Everything seemed to be impermanent, so I couldn't enjoy people's company. Later, the Mother brought my mind down to a lower plane. She so changed my mind that I could enjoy the love of God and his devotees. Next, the Master began to speak about divine incarnation. Master to M, Do you know why God incarnates himself as a man? It is because through a human body one can hear his words. He sports through it. He tastes divine bliss through a human body. But through his other devotees, God manifests only a small part of himself. A devotee is like something you get a little juice from after much sucking. Like a flower, you get a drop of honey after much sucking. To M. Do you understand this? M. Yes, sir, very well. Sri Ramakrishna began to talk to Dvija, who was about 16 years old. His father had married a second time. Dvija often accompanied M to Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ramakrishna was fond of him. The boy said that his father opposed his coming to Dakshineshwar. And your brothers, too. Do they speak slightingly of me? Dvija did not answer. M. To the master. Those who speak slightingly of you will be cured of it after getting a few more blows from the world. Master, referring to Dvija's brothers. They live with their stepmother, so they are getting blows. All were silent a moment. Master to M. Introduce Dvija to Purna sometime. M. Yes, I shall. To Dvija, go to Panihati. Master, I'm asking everyone to send people to Panihati. To M. Won't you go? Sri Ramakrishna intended to visit the religious festival at Panihati, so he was asking the devotees to go too. M. Yes, sir, I want to go. Master, we shall engage a big boat, then it won't toss about. Will Girish Ghosh be there? Sri Ramakrishna looked steadily at Dvija. Master, well, there are so many youngsters in the city. Why does this boy come here? To M. Tell me what you think. Certainly he has inherited some good tendencies from his previous birth. M. Undoubtedly, sir. Master, there is such a thing as inborn tendencies. When a man has performed many good actions in his previous births, in the final birth he becomes guileless. In the final birth, he acts somewhat like a madcap. To tell you the truth, everything happens by God's will. When he says yea, everything comes to pass, and when he says nay, everything comes to a standstill. Why is it that one man should not bless another? Because nothing can happen by man's will. Things come to pass or disappear by God's will. The other day I went to Captain's house. I saw some young boys going along the road. They belonged to a different class. I saw one of them, about 19 or 20 years old, with his hair parted on the side. He was whistling as he walked along. I see some immersed in the thickest Thomas. They play the flute and are proud of it. To Dvija, why should a man of knowledge be afraid of criticism? His understanding is as immovable as the anvil in a blacksmith shop. Blows from the hammer fall continually on the anvil, but it cannot affect it in the least. I saw X's father going along the street. M. He is a very artless man. Master, but he has red eyes. Sri Ramakrishna told the devotees about his visit to Captain's house. Captain had criticized the young men who visited the master. Perhaps Hazra had poisoned his mind. Master, I was talking to Captain. I said, nothing exists except Purusha and Prakriti. Narada said to Rama, "O Rama, all the men you see are parts of yourself, and all the women are parts of Sita." Captain was highly pleased. He said, "You alone have the right perception. All men are really Rama, being parts of Rama. All women are really Sita, being parts of Sita." Immediately after saying this, he began to criticize the young devotees. He said they study English books and don't discriminate about their food. It is not good that they should visit you frequently. It may do you harm. Hazra's a real man. He's a grand fellow. Don't allow these young people to visit you so much. At first I said, what can I do if they come? Then I gave him some mortal blows. His daughter laughed. I said to him, God is far, far away from the worldly minded. But God is very near the man, nay, within distance of 3 cubits, whose mind is free from worldliness. Speaking of Rakhal, Captain said, he eats with all sorts of people. Perhaps he heard it from Hazra. Thereupon I said to him, a man may practice intense austerity and japa, but he won't achieve anything if his mind dwells in the world. But blessed is the man who keeps his mind on God, even if he eats pork. He will certainly realize God in due time. Huzra, with all his austerity and japa, doesn't allow an opportunity to slip for earning money as a broker. Yes, yes, said Captain, you are right. I said to him further, a few minutes ago you said that all men were parts of Rama and all women parts of Sita, and now you're talking like this? Captain said, yes, that's true, but you don't love everybody. I said, according to the scriptures, water is God. We see water everywhere, but some water we drink, some we bathe in, and some we use for washing dirty things. Here sits your wife and daughter. I see them as the embodiments of the Blessed Mother. Thereupon Captain said, yes, yes, that's true. He wanted to apologize by touching my feet. After saying thus, Sri Ramakrishna laughed. Then he began to tell of Captain's many virtues. Master, Captain has many virtues. Every day he attends to his devotions. He himself performs the worship of the family deity. How many mantras he recites while bathing the image. He is a great ritualist. He performs his daily devotions such as worship, japa, arati, recital of the scriptures, and chanting of hymns. I scolded Captain and said, too much reading has spoiled you. Don't read anymore. About my own spiritual state, Captain said, your soul, like a bird, is ready to fly. There are two entities, Jivatma, the embodied soul, and the Paramatma, the supreme soul. The embodied soul is the bird. The supreme soul is like the Akasha. It is the Chidakasha, the Akasha of consciousness, Captain said. Your embodied soul flies into the Akasha of consciousness. Thus you go into Samadhi. Smiling. Criticized the Bengalis. He said the Bengalis are fools. They have a gem near them, but they cannot recognize it. That's referring to Sri Ramakrishna. Captain's father was a great devotee. He was a Shubadhar in the English army. Even on the battlefield, he would perform his worship at the proper time. With one hand, he'd worship Shiva, and with the other, he would wield his gun and sword. To M. But Captain is engaged in worldly duties day and night. Whenever I go to his house, I see him surrounded by wife and children. Besides, his men bring him their account books now and then. But at times, his mind dwells on God also. It's like the case of a typhoid patient who is always in a delirium. Now and then he gets a flash of consciousness and cries out, I want a drink of water. I want a drink of water. But while you're giving him the water, he becomes unconscious again and is not aware of anything. I said to Captain, you are a ritualist. He said, yes, I feel very happy when performing puja and things like that. Worldly people have no other way. I said to him, but must one perform formal worship forever? How long does a bee buzz about? As long as he hasn't lighted on a flower. While sipping honey, it doesn't buzz. But, he said, can we, like you, give up worship and other rituals? Yet, he doesn't always say the same thing. Sometimes he says that all this is inert. Sometimes that all this is conscious. I say, what do you mean by inert? Everything is Chaitanya, consciousness. Sri Ramakrishna asked M about Purna. They're talking about inert, and the word is jada, which means everything outside the deepest self within jada, the Purusha or Atman, we would say, is considered inert. The mind is jada, the world is inert, so one's supposed to look upon that which is as you're supposed to, the witness consciousness versus that which isn't the witness consciousness. I mean, when I first saw inert, it's like, oh, I see things moving around, but that's what I mean by inert is jada. Master, if I see Purna once more, then my longing for him will diminish. How intelligent he is. His mind is much drawn to me. He says, I too feel a strange sensation in my heart for you. To M. They've taken him away from your school. Will that harm you? M. If Vidyasagar, who is the founder of the school, tells me that Purna's relatives have taken him away from school on my account, I have an explanation to give them. Master, what will you say? M. I shall say that one thinks of God in holy company. That is by no means bad. Further, I shall tell him that the textbooks prescribed by the school authorities say that one should love God with all one's soul. The master laughs. Master, at Captain's house I sent for the younger Naren. I said to him, Where's your house? I want to see it. Please do come, he said. But he became nervous as we were going there, lest his father should know about it. All laugh. To a visitor. You have been here a long time, about 7 or 8 months. Visitor. About a year, sir. Master. Another gentleman used to come with you. Visitor. Yes, sir. Nilmani Babu. Master. Why doesn't he come anymore? Ask him to come sometime. I want to see him. Who is this boy with you? Visitor. He comes from Assam. Master. Where is Assam? In which direction? Dwija spoke to the master about Ashu. Ashu's father was arranging for his marriage, but Ashu had no wish to marry. Master. See? He doesn't want to marry, but they're forcing him. Ramakrishna, we also have to remember that these are probably like 16-year-olds, somewhere between 15 and 18. So, and once one marries, one has children, that means one has to start a job so you can earn a living. It becomes like this entirely difficult situation. It isn't like you're 30 and have a job to pay for it all. Ramakrishna said to a devotee that he should show respect to his elder brother. He said, the elder brother is like one's father. Respect him. A pundit was sitting with the devotees. He came from Upper India. Master smiling to him. The pundit is a great student of the Bhagavata. M and the other devotees looked at the pundit. Master to the pundit. Well, sir, what is Yoga Maya? The pundit gave some sort of explanation. Master, why isn't Radhika called Yoga Maya? The pundit also answered this question after a fashion. Master, Radhika is full of unmixed sattva, the embodiment of prema. Yoga Maya contains all the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, but Radhika had nothing but pure sattva. To M. Narendra now respects Radhika very much. He says that if anyone wants to know how to love Satchidananda, he can learn it from her. Satchidananda wanted to taste divine bliss for itself. That is why it created Radhika. She was created from the person of Satchidananda Krishna. Satchidananda Krishna is the container, and he himself in the form of Radhika is the contained. He manifested himself in that way in order to taste his own bliss, that is to say, in order to experience divine bliss by loving Satchidananda. Therefore, it is written in the Vaishnava books that after her birth, Radhika did not open her eyes. The idea is that she did not wish to see any human being. Yashoda came with Krishna in her arms to see Radhika. Only then did she open her eyes to behold Krishna. In a playful mood, Krishna touched her eyes. To the Assamese boy, have you seen this? Haven't you seen this? Small children touch each other's eyes with their hands. The pundit was about to take leave of Sri Ramakrishna. Pundit, I must go home. Master, tenderly, have you earned anything? Pundit, the market's very dull. I've earned nothing. A few minutes later, he saluted the master and departed. Master to M. You see how great the difference is between worldly people and the youngsters? This pundit has been worrying about money day and night. He has come to Calcutta to earn money. Otherwise, his people at home will have nothing to eat. See, this is why he's so concerned about the young devotees having to marry at such an early age without the ability to provide, because they will have nothing to eat. So he has to knock at different doors. When will he concentrate his mind on God? But the youngsters are untouched by lust and greed. Hence, they can direct their mind to God whenever they desire. The youngsters do not enjoy worldly people's company. Rakhal used to say, I feel nervous at the sight of the worldly minded. When I was first beginning to have spiritual experiences, I used to shut the doors of my room when I saw worldly people coming. As a boy at Kamarpukur, I loved Ram Malik dearly, but afterwards, when he came here, I couldn't even touch him. Ram Malik and I were great friends during our boyhood. We were together day and night. We slept together. At that time, I was 16 or 17 years old. People used to say, if one of them were a woman, they would marry each other. Both of us used to play at his house. I remember those days very well. His relatives used to come riding palanquins. Now he has a shop at Chanak. I sent for him many a time. He came here the other day and spent 2 days. Ram said he had no children. He brought up his nephew, but the boy died. He told me this with a sigh. His eyes were filled with tears. He was grief-stricken for his nephew. He further said that since they had no children of their own, all his wife's affection had been turned to the nephew. She was completely overwhelmed with grief. Ram said to her, "You are crazy. What will you gain by grieving? Do you want to go to Benares?" You see, he called his wife crazy. Grief for the boy totally diluted him. I found he had no stuff in him. I couldn't touch him. The Brahmin lady stood still near the north door. She was a widow. Her only daughter had been married to a very aristocratic man, a landlord in Calcutta with the title of Raja. Whenever his daughter visited her, she was escorted with liveried footmen. When the mother died, then the mother's heart swelled with pride. Just a few days ago, the daughter died, and she was now beside herself with sorrow. The Brahmin lady listened to the account of Ram Malik's grief for his nephew. I believe he's talking about Yogin Ma here. For the last few days, she'd been running to the master from her home at Bagh Bazar like an insane person. She was eager to know whether Sri Ramakrishna could suggest any remedy for her unquenchable grief. Sri Ramakrishna resumed the conversation. "Master, a man came here the other day. He sat for a few minutes and said, 'Let me go and see the moon face of my child.' I couldn't control myself and said, 'So, you prefer your son's moon face to God's moon face? Get out of here, you fool.'" To M. "The truth is that God alone is real and all else is unreal. Man, universe, house, children, all these are like the magic of the magician. The magician strikes his wand and says, 'Come delusion, come confusion.' Then he says to the audience, 'Open the lid of the pot. See the birds fly into the sky.' But the magician alone is real, and his magic is unreal. The unreal exists for a second and then vanishes. Shiva was seated in Kailash. His companion Nandi was near him. Suddenly a terrific noise arose. 'Revered sir,' asked Nandi, 'what does that mean?' Shiva said, 'Ravana is born. That's the meaning.' A few minutes later, another terrific noise was heard. 'Now what is this noise?' Nandi asked. Shiva said with a smile, 'Now Ravana is dead.' Birth and death are like magic. You see the magic for a second and then it disappears. God alone is real and all else unreal. Water alone is real. Its bubbles appear and disappear. They disappear into the very water from which they arise. God is like an ocean, and living beings are the bubbles. They are born there and they die there. Children are like a few bubbles around a big one. God alone is real. Make an effort to cultivate love for him and find out the means to realize him. What will you gain by grieving?" All sat in silence. The Brahmin lady said, "May I go home now?" The master said to her tenderly, "Do you want to go now? It is very hot, very hot." "Why now? You can go later in a carriage with the devotees." Because the day was so hot, a devotee gave the master a new fan made out of sandalwood. He was very much pleased and said, "Good, good, Om Tat Sat Kali." First he fanned the pictures of the gods and goddesses, and then he fanned himself. He said to M, "See, feel the breeze." M was highly pleased. He was no doubt the one who gave him the fan. Captain arrived with his children. Sri Ramakrishna said to Kishori, "Please show the temples to his children." He began to talk to Captain M, Dvija, and the other devotees were sitting on the floor. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the small couch facing the north. He asked Captain to sit in front of him on the same couch. "Master, I was telling the devotees about you, your devotion, your worship, and arati." Captain bashfully, "What do I know of worship and arati? How insignificant I am." Master, "Only the ego that is attached to lust and greed is harmful. But the ego that feels it is a servant of God does no harm to anybody. Neither does the ego of a child, which is not under the control of any guna. One moment the children quarrel, and the next moment they are on friendly terms. One moment they build their toy houses with great care, and immediately afterwards they knock them down. There's no harm in the I consciousness that makes one feel oneself to be a child of God or his servant. This ego is really no ego at all. It's like sugar candy, which is not like other sweets. Other sweets make one ill, but sugar candy relieves acidity. That's what he says. Or take the case of Om. It is unlike other sounds. With this kind of ego, one is able to love Satchidananda. It is impossible to get rid of the ego. Therefore, it should be made to feel that it is the devotee of God, his servant. Otherwise, how can one live? How intense was the love of the gopis for Sri Krishna? To Captain, please tell us something about the gopis. You read the Bhagavata so much. Captain, when Sri Krishna lived at Vrindavan without any of his royal splendor, even then the gopis loved him more than their own souls. Therefore Sri Krishna said, how shall I be able to pay off the debt to the gopis who surrendered to me their all, their bodies, their minds, and souls? Captain's words awakened intense love for Krishna in the master's mind. He exclaimed, Govinda, 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 and was about to go into an ecstatic mood. Captain was amazed and said, how blessed he is, how blessed he is. Captain and the devotees watched this love ecstasy of Ramakrishna. They sat quietly gazing at him, awaiting his return to the consciousness of the world. Let me see. There's another. Are there any questions? Any things that come up? Otherwise, I think I'll just read another half page and we can go to the next page so it'll be easy to find. Maybe there'll be something in here that you'll say, oh my God, that doesn't make sense. Master, tell us more. Captain, Sri Krishna was unattainable by the yogis, by yogis like you, but he can be attained by lovers like the gopis. How many years did the yogis practice yoga for his vision, yet they did not succeed? But the gopis realized him with such ease. Master, smiling, yes, he ate from the hands of the gopis, wept for them, played with them, and made many demands on them. Devotee, Bankim has written a life of Krishna. Master, he accepts Krishna, but not Radhika. Captain, I see he doesn't accept Krishna's Leela with the gopis. Master, I also hear that Bankim said that one needs passion, such as lust. A devotee, he has written in his magazine that the purpose of religion is to give expression to our various faculties, physical, mental, and spiritual. Captain, I see. He believes that lust and so forth are necessary, but he doesn't believe that Sri Krishna could enjoy his sportive pleasure in the world, that God could incarnate himself in a human form and sport at Vrindavan with Radha and the gopis. Master, smiling. But these things are not written in the newspaper. How could he believe them? A man said to his friend, yesterday as I was passing through a certain part of the city, I saw a house fall with a crash. Wait, said the friend, let me look it up in the newspaper. This incident wasn't mentioned in the paper. Thereupon the man said, but the paper doesn't mention it. His friend replied, I saw it with my own eyes. Be that as it may, said the man, I can't believe it as long as it's not in the paper. How can Bankim believe that God sports about as a man? He doesn't get it from his English education. It's very hard to explain how God fully incarnates himself as a man. Isn't that so? The manifestation of infinity in the human body only 3.5 cubits tall. Captain, Krishna is God himself. In describing him, we have to use such terms as whole and part. Master, whole and part are like fire and its sparks. An incarnation of God for the sake of the bhaktas is for the sake of the bhaktas and not for the jnanis. It is said in the Adhyatma Ramayana that Rama alone is the pervading spirit and everything pervaded. You are the Supreme Lord, distinguished as the Vachaka, the signifying symbol, and Vacha, the object signified. Captain, the signifying symbol means the pervader. The object signified means the thing pervaded. Master, the pervader in this case is a finite form. It is God incarnating himself as a human being. Okay. And anything else in this section that anyone want to bring up? Question? Throttle? Okay. Well, tomorrow there will be a lecture here Krishna Prana will speak tomorrow on the Razor's Edge at 11. And next Wednesday, we'll have a reading of the Gospel of Holy Mother. And on Saturday, there'll be a Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 5 p.m. And then on Sunday, there will be a lecture on the living presence. So a week ahead of us. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, then there were no. Okay, I dare you next time. So let's conclude with the chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.